astrology and realizing like this is more than just sun signs. And so the doing so much or doing so many things, I think is also, it is about the making connections between things, but it's also, that's how I came into all of these things, was moving between them all at the same time. And it should continue, that continues to be the way that I, practice in all of these different overlapping fields and disciplines.
Definitely. Wow. Yeah. I'm just thinking about your chart and how all of this makes so much sense. And you are such like a scholar in my eyes in terms of, you're a teacher, you teach higher education, very ninth house sun. And then the Gemini moon, of course, that's just like taking in all the information as possible. So yeah, you have that part to you, and you do. And again, from my perspective, you are so like scholarly, not only because you like work in university, but you just have this, I don't know, very rejoicing sun quality about you that's just like, so much. And there's such like an eloquence to a dancerly quality, you might say, to the way that you deliver all of your knowledge. And I just appreciate that so much about you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Don't you have an exalted chart ruler?
I do. I have Venus as because I'm Taurus rising, and Venus is in Pisces in my 11th house. And then also in my ninth house, I also have Jupiter, pretty close to the sun. I mean, it's under the beams of the sun. It's not a degree-based conjunction, but it's a whole sign co-presence. And then I have Neptune there as well. So there's the kind of the intense focus on clarification, I think, often comes from the exalted sun there, but then the wanting so much and to do more, I think, comes from the and I could say some more things about having a fall in Jupiter in the ninth house, but definitely the positives of like wanting to do more and to create more inclusive forms of thinking and education and learning. Mm-hmm. But then also the ways in which Neptune brings a kind of otherworldly or non-ordinary perceptivity to what we might think of as most real or most true. And I think that's where I see some of the esoteric practices, the astrology being a ninth house topic as well, but also the ways in which I think I'm always trying to think beyond what gets, reified as like a rational mode of thought. That I'm always striving for specificity and clarity and nuance, but that those things are not limited to something like linear rationality or the ways of thinking that get most celebrated or most centralized in our kind of imperial colonial Western civilization. Things like rationality and argumentation and logic and science and things. And those are things I have an appreciation for, but I think I'm always trying to think beyond them as well. Right. In terms of like feminist thought, in terms of queer thinking, in terms of magical thinking, and being in intentional relationality with more of the more than human world, which is, in excess to a lot of those reified hegemonies of thought that we see in the ninth house often.
Yes. Okay. Let me stop talking about your chart. Okay. We can do a whole episode about just talking. But one thing I always like to do with my guests is just talk about how we know each other. And for us, it's, I think, just through the internet, through social media, right?
Yeah, it was Twitter first, I think, and then you invited me to be part of the Fresh Voices Summit last summer, and I think that's where we first started being in more kind of intentional conversation around like what is it I might be presenting and how to shape some of that information, and then just the really spectacular event that you put on and all the beautiful important voices that you brought together in that event, and I was just really honored to be part of that. And it was really a lot of people's introduction to my work. It came like a month after the Queer Astrology Conference, something like that, maybe a month and a half.
Months, yeah.
Yeah, and so like last summer was really a moment of introducing a lot of people to my work through those two events, and yeah, just really grateful for that opportunity.
Yeah, I loved yours was like one of the few presentations